Hello, students. Today, we will explore an exciting chapter from history, the story of Delhi between the 12th and 15th centuries. This was a time of great change when Delhi grew from a small city to the center of powerful kingdoms. Let's dive in. Delhi's rise as a capital. In earlier times, regions like the Kaveri Delta were home to large kingdoms. But Delhi became an important city much later, in the 12th century. Delhi first became the capital under the Tomara Rajputs, who were later defeated by the Chauhans of Ajmer. These rulers made Delhi a center of trade, where wealthy Jana merchants built beautiful temples. Coins called Dehliwal were minted here and were used far and wide. Then, the Delhi Sultanate begins. In the 13th century, Delhi's importance grew even more with the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate. This marked the beginning of a new era. The Sultanate was ruled by 5 dynasties: Turkish dynasty, Khalji dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid dynasty, and Lodhi dynasty. The Delhi Sultans built many cities around modern Delhi, including Dehliai-Kuhna, Siri, and Jahanpana. Moving on to the Circle of Justice, Fakhrai Mudabbir, a historian of the 13th century, explained an interesting idea called the Circle of Justice. He said, "Kings need soldiers to protect their kingdom. Soldiers need salaries to live. Salaries come from taxes collected from farmers. Farmers can pay taxes only if they are happy and prosperous. This means that good governance and justice keep the entire system working smoothly." Now, let's talk about female rulers in history. Did you know that in 1236, Sultan Iltutmish's daughter, Rajia, became the ruler of Delhi? Many people, including the historian Minhaj Siraj, admitted she was more capable than her brothers. But because she was a woman, some nobles and historians did not support her. She was removed from the throne in 1240. Other female rulers, like Rudramdevi of Warangal and Queen Didda of Kashmir, faced similar challenges. Rudramdevi even pretended to be a man to rule. Let us learn about the role of slaves and governors. The Delhi sultans relied on trained slaves, called bandigan, to hold important positions. These slaves were loyal to the sultan and played key roles in governance. Later, the Khalji and Tughlaq rulers continued this practice, even giving high positions to people of humble birth, such as barbers and cooks. However, this caused political problems because these officials were loyal only to the sultan who appointed them, not to his successors. Each sultan had his own group of servants. Consequently, the rise of a new ruler often led to disputes between the older and newer nobility. The support extended by the Delhi sultans to these humble individuals surprised many elites. Additionally, Persian historians, or Tawarik authors, criticized the Delhi sultans for uplifting individuals of low and humble birth to high-ranking positions. The Khalji and Tughlaq rulers, like earlier sultans, made military commanders governors of different regions, called iqtas, and the governors were known as iqtadars. Their main job was to lead armies and maintain peace in their areas. In return, they collected money from the land as their salary and used it to pay their soldiers. These lands could not be passed down to their children, and the governors were often moved to different areas. Strict rules were followed during the time of Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq, with officials checking how much money was collected and making sure taxes were fair and enough soldiers were kept. The sultans also brought nearby villages under their rule. They made powerful landowners obey their authority. Alauddin Khalji took control of land taxes directly, stopped local chiefs from collecting their own taxes, and made them pay taxes to the sultan. Land was measured, and proper records were kept. Some old chiefs and landlords worked for the sultanate as tax collectors and officials. Taxes and administration. The sultans collected three main types of taxes. Firstly, kharaj, a tax on crops, which took about 50% of the farmer's produce. Then, taxes on cattle. And the third one was taxes on houses. The sultans appointed officials to ensure taxes were collected fairly. This system was strict but effective. Moving further to the challenges to control. Even though the sultans ruled a large area, some regions remained outside their control. For example, local chieftains in forests or mountains built strong defenses using bamboo groves, making it difficult for the sultan's army to defeat them. During the reign of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq, the Mongols attacked the Delhi Sultanate multiple times. To defend the kingdom, these rulers had to maintain large armies, which was a huge challenge. Moving towards the end of the Sultanate and Sher Shah Sur. After the Tughlaqs, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled Delhi until 1526. By this time, many regions like Bengal, Malwa, and Gujarat had independent rulers. Some of the states established in this period were small but powerful and extremely well administered. Sher Shah Sur 1540 to 1545 started his career as the manager of a small territory for his uncle in Bihar and eventually challenged and defeated the Mughal Emperor Humayun. Sher Shah captured Delhi and established his own dynasty. Although the Sur dynasty ruled for only 15 years, 1540 to 55, it introduced an administration that borrowed elements from Alauddin Khilji and made them more efficient. Sher Shah's administration became the model followed by the great Emperor Akbar, 1556 to 1605, when he consolidated the Mughal Empire. So, that's the story of Delhi from the 12th to 15th century, a time of great rulers, brave decisions, and important lessons in governance. We hope that you have understood the topic. You can now study chapter notes, watch video lectures, and solve MCQ tests of this chapter on Eduref to ensure you score well in your school exams. And that's not all, you also get amazing courses for maths, science, English, Hindi, and much more for class 7. Thank you.